Hi guys, so welcome to this week's case study list. So as usual, we'll start with the indexes first. And before I start, just a disclaimer, this video is entirely for educational purpose only, and it should not be considered as a buy or sell call. If you require a buy or sell call, please look for your licensed reminder. So I am a bit short of time. I will just jump right straight into the analysis for this week. So if you look at Nasdaq, which is the US 100, which I use, this one is for futures one. You can see that it's actually kind of very bullish last week lah. Okay, with all the economic news looking like the interest rate hikes have actually done their job, and inflation is coming lower, and employment rate is going higher and stuff like that. Okay. I think this trend line, when it hits over here, will be the real test to see whether it will come up or down, because otherwise, actually, basically, it is moving within this channel over here. Okay, so this will be quite a test to see whether it actually is just a relief rally, like a dead cat bounce, or is it not. But what you need, I want to highlight is actually that the volume from the first day, which is from Tuesday's rally, okay, has been decreasing, while the candles have been quite similar. So this begs the question whether the funds are actually joining in or not lah. Okay, so I think as usual, we don't predict, we don't speculate, we just wait for the price to actually dictate where the market is heading to lah. Okay, so if you ask me, I think in a short term it's actually pretty bullish, while the long term is still actually a downtrend bear lah. Okay. And the same goes with the Dow Jones. Dow Jones is actually the same. You can see that actually volume is actually reducing, okay, despite the increased rally. Okay, so actually if you look at here, like from here until here, you have about 579 points up, and the volume is only about 96,000 lah. Okay, it's reducing, whereas here you have only like 231, and it's 31k. Here the volume is higher, but the amount of movement is only about 438. Okay, so the volume is kind of going lower, which begs the question to see whether there is true follow-through volumes, follow-through days, and also whether the participation is done by the funds or more to the retailer side lah. Okay, or is it actually just news driven? Same story with the US S&P 500. But if you see, this one is actually quite near to its previous high lah. Okay, same as the Nasdaq. And Dow Jones is already challenged and actually resisted lah. Okay, by the previous resistance. This one hasn't reached yet. Okay. So basically they're all the same. They all have that head and shoulders and also the downtrend channel. Just that the Nasdaq one hits the channel quite significantly, whereas the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 one doesn't. Okay, and now coming down to the Russell 2000, which is a small cap index. So if you look at this, the hit, and then you pull it down, it's quite far away from the trend line. But I say it's basically quite bullish in a major downtrend, major bear. Okay, the US 10-year yield, I think it's going down, but it has actually formed a hammer over here. So I'm not so sure whether this will start rebounding or not. Okay, because I think from the time that it has flirted around with the 50 days moving average and started going up, it has only kind of touched the 50 days moving average once, and this is the second time lah. Okay, penetrating through and actually closing above. So I think next week will be quite interesting to see whether the market is actually going to go bullish or it's going to turn bearish back lah. Okay, I actually included the 2-year yield and also the 5-year yield just for a point of reference. Let's have a look. Yeah, so the 2-year yield actually they say should come down lower, but I'm not so sure about it. This one has actually broken down from the 50 days. Actually, you see it's quite accurate lah. Okay, every time it comes to 50 days, it rebounds. This one is actually going down, so maybe a bullish thing. This one actually closed below, okay, for the first time after such a long time. So we are yet to see lah, okay, whether it's gonna turn into a hammer and go back higher or not. Okay, so far only this one looks more like a hammer lah. Okay, not a very strong one either. Okay, this is the US dollar index. Penetrated through the 50 days moving average, so we will have to see whether it continues or not. This is VIX. VIX index is going lower, means there isn't so much of volatility. This is the short index coming down to the trend line, so we will see whether this trend line will be able to hold. The same story with the S&P 500 short index, so it's also coming down. We will have to see whether it will be able to hold or not. I think this one can be redraw. So now maybe just take this trend line over here. Okay, or you can take something like this also lah. Okay, we quite similar. This is the SOXL. Okay, Hang Seng Index actually it's looking quite good. It's the momentum is quite strong, but if you take like from here to here, you will see that it's challenging the trend line lah. Okay, so for me, I think Hang Seng needs some time. I think this is a better trend line. Okay, for me personally, I think Hang Seng needs some time lah. Okay, to actually digest the news and stuff. China Index is also going lower, lower low and lower high. But like I said, last week rally was pretty strong, and China, I think it started from last week itself. Okay, so Japan Nikkei Index, I think same, following US footsteps. It's actually rallied for 4 days direct. UK oil is actually consolidating over here, I think building a base before it attempts to go higher. Our KLCI index has actually breached this downtrend line, which is actually a very bullish thing to have. Okay, after quite some time, it's actually almost reaching about 14. It actually hit about 1460 and a pullback, and the high is about 1468 lah. Okay, so this one is looking good. Small cap index same, is following the US trend, so it looks not bad here. Okay, but we will have to wait and see what happens next week. So we go over to the sectors. I think property sector is actually building a base over here, quite quiet base. Okay, I think it will take some time before it goes up. It's actually building a base. No, I don't think it'll take long time lah. I think it's about time. REITs, I think it's sideways, nothing much. Energy, I think will depend on your oil sectors, your oil prices. Okay, so I think it's kind of still forming higher highs along the way. Okay, if you actually pull a trend line over here, you'll see it's still forming higher highs. Higher lows. Okay, finance, I think it's kind of sideways, nothing much to see. Utilities, there was a very strong rally after YTL Power mentioned that they are buying in Renthill, but I think there was news on Friday saying that Renthill has not received anything from YTL Power, so I think we'll see what happens next week. Construction sector, I think some people asked me to review some construction counters, and I don't think it's that nice yet. I think it needs some time. Technology, I think on Friday there was quite a strong buying demand. There's quite a strong volume coming in, so we'll wait to see whether it's going to go up or not. Plantation, there was a gap up and actually held quite high, okay, at the resistance, so there may be a possibility plantation may be in focus next week. Industrial products, I think it's kind of still sideways, nothing much. Healthcare index, I think nothing much also lah, kind of sideways. I think may have short-term bottom found lah. Okay, consumer, I think the candle is pretty strong. We will have to see what happens next week if it's able to break out from this resistance lah. Okay, transport is sideways, and telecommunications doesn't seem to be doing well. Okay, so now we move over to the case studies for this week. Where is my case study? Okay, so of course I'll start off with the charts which I feel look much better compared to the rest. Then after that we'll follow down. Okay, so the first one is Mcement. Okay, so if you look at Mcement, the basing over here, the volume has been pretty low. Okay, this volume is pretty high and followed by consecutive days on high volume. So I think it looks pretty good. It has been sideways for quite long and flirting with the 50 days moving average line for some time, and then now has kind of broken out lah. Okay, from this trend. So I think it looks pretty good over here, and it may be bound to actually move even higher next week. Okay, so you will have to monitor and see whether it manages to hold above. Okay, follow through day is very important lah. Okay, next counter EG. So EG, like I said in the previous week, actually is still in a downtrend. The major trend is actually still downtrend, but you notice that it's actually re-challenging the downtrend line quite a lot of times, and quite a few days actually managed to break out from the downtrend line, but didn't manage to last the next day. So what I like about EG is I think it's starting to build better bases. I think it's starting to build more constructive bases that you see actually if you measure. It's quite interesting to see, you know, like this correction over here from here to here is like 18%. Okay, and then the next correction from here to here is only about 14%. Okay, and then when you reach a high of here, it comes here, it's about only 8%. Okay, I think the bases being constructed are getting more and more constructive, and it looks quite good for EG lah. Okay, looking at this base also quite quiet, and but there has been some resistance over here lah. Okay, so we will see what happens next week, whether the momentum actually comes in, or it actually just is going to decide to sideways throughout lah. Okay, so next counter will be YBS. So if you look at YBS, I think it may have actually found bottom. Okay, if you look at this, it's like coming down. First support, then after that second one. Okay, and then if you look at here, this looks more like a washout by the operators lah. Okay, to wash out retailers who actually set you know, their stop loss just right below the support. Okay, it's kind of like a washout for 2 days and then subsequently continued going higher. But now it's met with some form of resistance over here. Okay, you can see there's a resistance definitely at this level, 615. Okay, so it actually gapped up to avoid the resistance. No, not avoid, like actually go through it. Okay, and it didn't manage to break out the second resistance at 625 lah. Okay, so if let's say it doesn't manage to break out, but it's actually quite bullish, then it will go through maybe another correction first, like a small pullback, maybe something like this, and then of course it will attempt to pull back again. But if you look at the volume over here, why I took it as a case study is because this is just textbook lah. Okay, high volume come up, low volume go down, and then when it's going to go up again, the high volume comes. So this is basically textbook. Okay, so quite interesting to see whether what happens to the stock next week. Okay, next will be RGB. RGB has finally broken out of this range of between 0.275 to about 0.32. I think the volume on Friday is quite encouraging. But it actually ran up to about 0.34, then came back down to close at about 0.325. So there was some sellers lah. Okay, look at the 5-minute candle, you can see there's quite some heavy selling over here. Not very nice to see lah. Okay, you will need to see next week what happens if this momentum is able to continue going higher or not. If it is not, then of course you will see a small pullback lah. But the volume has definitely come in, so there is a possibility that it will continue. Okay, so actually the small cup is just here lah, a very small cup it formed before breaking out. So if it does pull back, maybe it'll just pull back to somewhere 315 lah. It may lah, it may. Okay, because based on textbook, it's, you know, it will pull to the high of the base. Okay, so RGB is quite interesting after a long pullback, a long correction from the high of this to its low. It's about almost 40%, I think. Okay, here to here, yeah, 40% correction. Okay, next Bjfood. Okay, I don't know whether Bjfood is really correlated or somehow related with the Johor side, but I mean news says it is lah, but honestly I really don't know. But just looking at the chart, I think on recent days the volume has started coming in, and the stock is looks like it's starting to turn bullish lah. Okay, after the high that it formed at about 0.775, and then if you look at this, ignoring this one, actually it's still forming a higher lows lah. Okay, one, it didn't form higher low, it actually didn't come down to the trend line lah. Okay, so I think the resistance is supposed to be at here, and it actually broke up, but actually it closed, but eventually it closed back at the resistance level lah. Okay, so we need to see what happens next week. But what's nice is the volume has started coming in lah. Okay, pretty high volume has started coming in, which is a very nice thing to have. Okay, next will be Infotec. So why I took Infotec is because I think there is a possibility of a very bullish formation over here. Okay, if you look at the here is one cup, here is another, and here is another. It looks like an inverse head and shoulders to me. Okay, so and then you can see that it has actually attempted to challenge this 0.8 level multiple times. Okay, and of course a few times it break and you know, close below lah, you know, squats and so on happening. So it is also, I think, attributed to the situation of the market. Okay, but I think the sideways has been quite long for this stock. It has corrected about 34%, about 35 lah. Okay, and it's kind of now attempting to break from here. Okay, so I think it'll be quite interesting to see what happens to the stock while it's in a bullish market. Yeah, I think market may be quite bullish next week lah. Okay, one stock that had an inverse head and shoulders that didn't break out is Muhiba. I'm not so sure whether the structure has actually failed or will it correct to form another shoulder before attempting to break out, but it definitely didn't break out during a bad market lah. Okay, so we will see what happens to Infotec lah. Okay, buying days volume has been pretty good. Okay, breakout volume days has been high, so we will wait to see lah whether it's a successful one or not. Okay, next is DAY3. I actually featured this the stock actually previously yeah, I actually covered this stock before previously. I think last week or the week before, I can't remember. It was also a case study because I suspected that the stock may have bottomed. Okay, one, you have a very nice hammer formation over here, which didn't touch the body of the previous candle, and then you have a sideways here with very low volume. Look at the volume over here, and then when it breaks out over here, it's with high volume. So this is also textbook lah. Okay, so I believe that the stock may have actually reached its bottom and may be attempting to reverse its trend now. So the first resistance it meets is at 0.42, which is the previous high, the most recent high, which is formed before it dived down lah. Okay, so it actually hit the resistance of 0.42, and I think it will pull back lah. Okay, it most likely will pull back. Okay, so day 3 will be something quite interesting to see. You know, some people like to look for bottom stocks that bottom, and I think this is one of them lah. Okay. Okay, next is Yspsah. Okay, I did also cover this stock as one of my case studies last week, and I think it is quite good lah. Okay, albeit the huge gap up over here, okay, and then selling over here. I think it looks pretty good. The high volume selling down lah. Okay, and I think this candle is obviously not a good candle. Like, it may symbolize a reversal. Okay, it's also hitting the previous level resistance, but I think you need to give some time, and also you need to take note that the shares float for this counter is actually very low. It's just about 44 million. Okay, so why I actually picked this stock is because I see a cup and shoulders formation over here, which may just materialize lah. Okay, so that's what is interesting for me for Yspsah. Okay. Okay, so next counter will be Ulicorp. Ulicorp is actually good in the sense that, you know, despite a bearish market and stuff, is still able to form. I think it's all-time high. No, it's a 52-week high lah. Okay, so this was the previous resistance of 1.74. Okay, and it's actually, despite, you know, during bearish market and all, it's actually still able to form higher, even higher. Okay, this was 2021, so already way above the 52-week high. I think 52-week high will be somewhere here lah when it formed. No, this is September, somewhere here lah, I think. Okay, so despite during this bearish market, it's still able to continue going higher. So I believe that it's pretty bullish lah, this stock. Okay. I think that is actually basing over here. Okay, we look at the high volume red candles. This candle high volume resisted at about 1.85. This candle high volume resisted at about 1.85. This candle high volume resisted at about 1.85 as well. Then I think this is the breakout candle, and it managed to stay above. But the next day there was a squat lah. Okay, but it's of low volume, so I think it looks pretty good. And then I think it may be poised to go higher depending on the market condition. Okay, so it's like kind of sideways first, then there's a pullback over here, then high volume came in, okay, and attempted to break out and stay above this line. Okay, so I think there may be some movement next week lah. Okay, but overall it's definitely in an uptrend lah. Okay, and there's some momentum building over here. Okay, so next counter will be GTRONIC. Okay, GTRONIC, I think most likely will come back for a pullback first. The volume coming in is about 7 times higher than the previous day, and I think it's about almost 5 or 6 times, I think 5 times higher than the average 10 days lah. Okay, so it's a bit too aggressive to jump up at this pace, and it definitely broke out from this small cup over here lah. Okay, this small one over here, where the resistance is about 1.46. Okay, so I think the stock will actually pull back first before it actually continues to go higher lah. Okay, so need some patience, need to wait and see what happens first, then only see whether it's just a one-day show, or you know, there is some follow-through days lah. Okay. Okay, next counter is SPRITZER. SPRITZER also has high volume over the past 2 days. I think it's almost attempting to challenge its 52-week high already, about here. So if you look at it as a general trend, it was downtrend, but now it has some trend reversal and it's already going higher lah. Okay, so this is kind of like no, this is sideways, so I don't it's not considered as a bullish engulfing, but the volume coming in is actually pretty high lah. Okay, so once it managed to break out from this resistance, kind of your sideways and also your cup consolidation is already settled lah. Okay, so there isn't much resistance above, and I think the candle also closed quite well. Okay, so support and resistance, I think it's as displayed on the screen, and we wait to see whether I expect there should be a pullback lah after 2 heavy rallies and big price action for 2 days. I expect there should be some form of pullback before attempting to go higher lah. Okay, next is PANTECH. So I think no, I'm not so sure. PANTECH is steel related. the volume on Friday is actually high, actually very high lah. Okay, sorry, the price action is higher, the volume is pretty high, quite similar lah actually. If you compare this 1.948 and this one is 4, but this one is here until here, this one is here until up there, and consider the selling as well. I think there's no abnormality lah in terms of the price action and also the volume. Okay, so if you look at it, of course it's still in an uptrend. It actually just touched the 50 days moving average and actually rebounded from it. Okay, but of course it has been flirting with the 50 days moving average line for quite a number of days. There is quite a lot of resistance above, so if you look at this entire zone, okay, I think this entire zone will be some form of resistance lah. Okay, so PANTECH is currently closed within the resistance zone, so we need to see what happens next week lah. Okay, so what PANTECH actually needs to continue the momentum is definitely some follow through days, okay, with volume. Then it will you know, assert definitely it's on an uptrend lah, but if it doesn't, then I think it will just continue sideways. Okay, IOI properties, I think this is one of the better real estate charts. Okay, why I picked it is because look at it, you know, it's above 52-week high, definitely. Okay, 52 from December 2020, it's only about 1.76, and this is about 1.84 lah. Okay, so this is the selling volume is actually pretty low. Okay, look at this green candle, high volume, this one high volume, this one pullback, not much volume, this one when it goes up, high volume. Okay, so what I see very nice here is there's always a very high volume coming out, and if you look at it here, okay, the resistance is about this zone lah. Okay, so it needs to overcome this zone to be able to continue going higher. Okay, so if this one high volume and then got rejected, this one also high volume, rejected. Okay, this one didn't actually attempt to go higher lah. Okay, so I believe okay, I think the resistance will be here. Okay, so I believe it needs to clear the resistance first, but actually if you look at these areas, use one cup over here and another candle over here, so I think quite bullish lah. Okay, next REDTONE. I'm not so sure when REDTONE really wants to decide on a direction. It can be uptrend or it can be downtrend lah. Okay, depends. He wants to, you know, kind of form something like this, or he wants to form something like this. Okay, so I think that really depends on where the direction of the stock is lah. Okay, where the market wants to bring the stock to. Okay, I don't know how much relationship there is between REDTONE and the Johor state government or the Agong side. I'm really not sure, because I think they published something saying that REDTONE is related or something. I really don't know. So but based on chart, I think the chart is sideways now lah. Okay, and it should make a decision on which direction it wants to go soon. Okay, PPJACK. This one has been a low volume for a very long time. Okay, the high is about here and the low is about here lah. Okay, not so big range, the consolidation, but the duration has been a really long time. Okay, so this is like one cup and this is like another cup. Okay, usually the left side one should be broader compared to the right side one, but this is a bit the other way around, but it has also happened before lah. Okay, so I think the consolidation is right. Okay, judging by, you know, it has already quite a lot from here to here. Okay, I think 60 cents to here is about 80% already, so of course you have to consolidate lah to wash out the weak retailers. Okay, so volume has started coming in recently. Okay, volume has started coming in, which is quite interesting to see, and I think the most recent cup that it has formed is from here to here lah. Okay, so wait and see whether there will be a continuation or not, whether you'll be able to break out from here and also the recent recent high, and then you'll continue going higher lah. Okay, if not, then of course you will continue going sideways again lah. Okay, so you will form something like this lah. Okay, so it will be quite interesting to see. Next will be EFRAME. Okay, EFRAME, I think the structure of it is quite volatile lah. Okay, the high of here, then correct until here. It's about 14%, and then the next one here, correct until here, it's about 8%, and now it correct until from here until here, it's about 3.2%. Okay, quite volatile because of the price. Okay, so generally I think EFRAME looks pretty good. It has attempted to break from the resistance again, but didn't manage to. Okay, so we have to wait and see lah whether it manages to continue going higher or not. Okay, this one must break out. Okay, definitely must break out first, then only can go higher. But if you look at the volume, it's also quite textbook lah. Okay, so I just like to share the knowledge that I've learned and then I see whatever charts in Bursa, then I just share as knowledge lah. So like I said, the video is just for educational purpose. So if you look from here, you know, the volume is going lower, okay, and then now it's going higher again. When it's attempting to go high, then it goes high again, okay, just similar to how the chart is lah. Okay, so it's something very nice to have, and I think it's something pretty bullish lah. Okay, so next is EMCC. This is an IPO stock. There is not much past data for the stock, so it's a bit hard to see where's the support and resistance. But of course, if you look from here, this is definitely the support lah. Okay, this is the support, and also I think the resistance definitely was here. Okay, at about 0.425, and I think it's going to attempt to challenge the downtrend line now. Okay, so if you feel this base is not strong, then when it challenges the downtrend line, you will fail, and then you will rebound again lah. Okay, so you will have something like this lah. Okay, if let's say it doesn't succeed lah. Okay, but if it succeeds, of course, then you'll continue going higher. Okay, but for now, the support is actually quite far from where the resistance was. Okay, because it was just trading like this, just a kind of a V-shaped rebound. There isn't really a solid base building, but I think this range from here to here quite solid lah, the base. Okay, quite low volume. So we will wait to see where the market brings it to next week. DCHCARE, I think quite nice also. I think I featured this in one of my case studies before. Okay, but I just don't like the V-shaped rebound, and then it comes up here. Okay, but this base is a bit better in the sense that, you know, it's like flat basing over there at the bottom, and then it started rallying higher lah. Okay, and then you can see here actually hit the resistance, and then the next day was kind of a low volume lah. Okay, so generally I think the trend is quite good. We'll have to see whether this resistance ultimately gets broken or not. Okay, because you see it has tested this area for 4 times now and seems like cannot. So if let's say really cannot, so maybe you'll just go through something like this lah before it attempts to challenge the resistance again. Okay, and my last stock is actually CITAGLB. So if you notice CITAGLB, this is one of the previous resistance. It actually broke out much higher with very high volume over here, and volume has been kind of decreasing lah. Okay, I think this shows that there's a pullback over here and volume has been decreasing until here. Then I think they may form a base somewhere here before it attempts to go higher. Okay, because this candle quite high volume and it's red, it means, you know, there's a lot of sellers over here. Next subsequent days, many days or so, it doesn't seem like it's able to continue going higher. Okay, so we'll need to see what happens to CITAGLB first. I think this one is related to Agong also, current Agong. Okay, like I think he's buying into it or something. Yeah, King Razor Stick to in CITAGLB to 9.9%. Okay, so it really depends. There should be something behind it. If not, Agong cannot be buying it, right? So it depends what the market dictates. Okay, but it's already quite near to where it was earlier this year. Okay, 52-week high lah. Okay, so that will be all for my list of case studies this week. I hope both my case studies video and also the chart review video has helped you in understanding your chart one way or another. Okay, so as a conclusion and also the general market commentaries, I think the market looks pretty bullish from what the economic news has been posted from the US side, but I think what happened last week was really just movement by news lah. Okay, we need to see whether it follows through next week or not. Okay, so if it does follow through next week and, you know, it's able to sustain the momentum for the next 1 or 2 weeks, then most probably we are in it for quite a good bullish bull run lah. Okay, otherwise then we will go back to bear run until the economic status of the entire world improves. Okay, from Bursa, I think Bursa is pretty bullish from last week itself. I think there are some funds flowing into Bursa Malaysia, and I think generally Bursa is doing quite well. So maybe the bull has actually finally come, and maybe there's this Santa rally which usually happens every year lah. Okay, so I think that will be all, and I hope you do well in the market lah next week. Okay, so that will be all lah. Thank you, bye bye.